first, when I used to look back at Beyonce, I used to be like, ooh, that Beyonce is wearing me out. I am sick of her. But part of her marketing strategy was just to never go anywhere. And I told you them Virgos never go nowhere. They just stay around forever. So much so that you be like, God damn, where this bitch go somewhere? Sit down, leave me alone. That's what my wife got. Oh, my life, be waiting for you. No, how you do. I'm telling you, this goddamn demon that was in my back for 3 weeks and then appeared through my soul on Monday. When I say that blicker is kicking my ass, and if it wasn't for the fact that I had that flu shot, it would have been so much worse because I had everything except for the fever and the nausea. Man. That shit sat in my back for 3 weeks, y'all. I ain't even playing. It felt like it was killing me. I didn't know what the hell that was. Maybe my body was trying to fight it until it couldn't fight it no more. After high school, I considered business administration for a minute. I could do quick figuring, but music was what I had heard for years in my head and my heart and my soul. And if I was going to study anything, it should be that. Vallejo Junior College, and especially David Frolic, sealed the deal for me. What did I learn from him? Everything. We did ear training, which taught us to recognize chords, scales, intervals, and rhythms. Then we went deeper reading. Walter Piston, a composer who taught at Harvard University and wrote music theory books like Harmony, Counterpoint, and Orchestration. Big books. Orchestration was almost 600 pages filled with big ideas. Cadences, irregular resolutions, raised, supertonics. Above all, I learned how to learn. I could get lost in the reading, but Mr. Frolic led me out. At night, I was still stepping up on bandstands, running local groups, trying to get something of my own going. While I drove, I would flip on the radio and see what music was popular and whether I understood it differently now. While I was studying with Mr. Frolic at Vallejo Junior College, I went to Chris Borden School of Modern Radio Technique. They offered training for future on-air talent. I went in case I needed to get a job. Pause. So let me tell you what I feel is very important about this Sly Stone book. Sly Stone does what I expect people who have been successful in the business to do. Break it down, word for word, step by step, so that people can understand the roots of how to get to a place. They offered training for future on-air talent. I went in case I needed to get a job. The class lasted 12 weeks, but then it was down to just one more week, and then I had my certificate in hand. The day I got out of class, I went to KSOL 1450 on your AM dial. KSOL was the main R&B station in town. After operating for years as KSAN, it had changed call letters to emphasize the format. Near the front desk, there was a guy who looked like a manager. "Excuse me," I said. I introduced myself. "What can I do for you?" he said. "I want a job," I said. A job meant no more school, but wasn't the point of school to get a job? I went to Mr. Frolic and told him it would be my last semester with him. "Why are you going?" he said. He wasn't trying to make me feel bad. It was a curious question from a friend. I made the sign money, 2 fingers rubbed together. "But listen," I said, "I'll be back. And when I come back, I'm going to be in a stretch limousine filled with women." Years later, I did send a limo for him, but I forgot to fill it with women. In my first weeks at KSOL, it was my job to pick out records. Sheets went out that listed the popular songs of the day, and next to each title was a little box. Programmers were supposed to use it as a worksheet, but I checked off what I liked, and sometimes those records made it on the air. I got more jobs and better jobs, and eventually they put me behind a microphone for real in the 7 p.m. to midnight slot. That's when I completed my name. Back then, when they added a new on-air voice, they usually made up a DJ name. I was already using the Sly from the blackboard, but I didn't know the rest yet. Sly Stewart didn't sound quite right. Someone at the station, maybe Tom Johnson, tried to pin Sly Stone on me. That didn't work at all. You couldn't even get it out of your mouth right. "Give me a few days to think of something better," I said. It didn't take that long. I went on the air and introduced myself as Sly Stone. I was cooking with a bunch of ingredients. It sounded right. I was already smoking marijuana, and there was a tension in the name. Sly was strategic. Slick Stoner was solid. Right around the same time I walked into KSOL, I ran into Tom Donahue. Tom was a leading man in the local music scene. He had started as a DJ back east, but after the payola scandal, he came west to KYA, a San Francisco AM station that was sagging in ratings. They needed talent with experience, voices that changed the choices. Tom's nickname was Big Daddy, same as my father's. Bobby Freeman was part of the More. Bobby was a local boy made good who had started in doo-wop groups like the Romancers and the Vocaliers, had a big early hit with Do You Wanna Dance, and smaller later hits like I Do the Shimmy and Let's Surf Again. Then it was a little later, and I had met Tom Donahue, and he had met me. We talked about Autumn Records and what the label needed. Songs written and arranged and recorded. One of my jobs at Autumn was to get a hit for Bobby Freeman. He was still showing off his swimming moves around town, but other people were starting to copy him. He needed to establish ownership because Bobby was the guy who would create dances. I mean, for real, that's all the tiki-taki is doing. All you need, if you got a song, is to hope that one of the tiki-taki people make a dance off of it, and then the next minute you know, the damn song is going viral because some young person and made up a goddamn dance off of your song at the tiki-taki, and you niggas is mad that them tiki-taki people then created a dance off the Frankie Beverly song, We Are One. No matter what you do, we are one. Child, y'all done thought that it was so disrespectful. In my mind, I'm just happy that the young people even know who Frankie the Beverly is now. Because if it wasn't for that dance that they created over there on the tiki-taki, how many of the young people would actually even know who Frankie Beverly is? We know Frankie the Beverly. Louisiana, New Orleans know Frankie Beverly. You know, the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia, we know, or DC and Maryland, we know Frankie the Beverly. But how would the young people of today know Frankie Beverly if it wasn't for that tiki-talkie dance? What they do is they put certain songs back into rotation and they make young people appreciate the music. So you people need to get off that bullshit, okay? But anyway, back to Bobby Freeman. Bobby Freeman was the guy who would come up with songs that would encourage young people to dance, like the swim. One of my first jobs at Autumn was to get a hit for Bobby. He was still showing off his swimming moves around town, but other people were starting to copy him. He needed to establish ownership. I wrote a song for him, Come On and Swim, quick, easy, and a dance song through and through. I arranged it and brought in some musicians, including Jerry Martini, though I played lots of it myself. This time my name was on the record, right under the name of the song. Stuart Coleman, it said. Coleman was Tom Donahue. That was his real last name, just like Stuart was mine. Come On and Swim didn't sink. It floated all the way up to number 5. Not in the area, but in the country. When you have a hit like that, you have to capitalize on it quick. On the Jesus. Remember that, yeah. If y'all ain't never heard nothing before, hey, if some shit is popping for you, you better, girl. At first, when I used to look back at Beyonce, I used to be like, ooh, that Beyonce bitch is wearing me. Oh, I am sick of her. But part of her marketing strategy was just to never go anywhere. And I told you them Virgos never go nowhere. They just stay around forever. So much so that you be like, God damn, where this bitch go somewhere? Sit down, leave me alone. That's how my wife got me. Come On and Swim didn't sink. It floated all the way up to number 5. Not in the area, but in the country. When you have a hit like that, you have to capitalize on it quick. Bobby started touring around behind it. $1,000 a night. Autumn put out a record under my name or close for this one. I was Sly Stewart, called I Just Learned to Swim, with Scat Swim as the B-side. I didn't chart though. The second swim song I wrote and produced for Bobby, SWIM, got up to 56. I felt proud of the success of Come On and Swim, but also lucky. It came out as dance crazes were in their dying days. What was killing them was rock bands. The Beatles hadn't gone anywhere since the beginning of the year. And they ain't. When bands needed help, I sometimes had to bring in studio players after the fact for overdubs. That may have been how I met Billy Preston. Like me and Jesse Belvin, Billy had been born in Texas, Houston, and come to California, Los Angeles, as a kid. Before he was out of his teens, he had played organ with Mahalia Jackson, been on TV with Nat King Cole, backed Little Richard on tour, and even put a record out on Sam Cooke's label. Billy could make more music with his organ than a whole band. And in the studio, he could advance an idea better than anybody I knew. I could help hum something and he would move it right into place. Okay, pause. Come bring me your sweetness. Now there's you, there is no weakness. Lying here within your arms, I'm born again. That Billy Preston. I was half not whole. Instead, with none, reaching through this world in need of one. I helped Billy make a solo album, Wildest Organ in Town, for Capitol. And then there was no more Autumn. Tom sold it to Warner Brothers. I had some money, so I got myself a Jaguar, a XKE, and turned it purple. Everyone gets their hair done. I went to get mine done at a place named Huff's Fashionette at Fillmore and Geary. Back then, the neighborhood was still the real Fillmore. Houses, clubs, and bars. Lots of black faces. Within a few years, it would be a site of urban redevelopment, which meant clearing out old buildings and replacing them with new, expensive ones, clearing black faces and replacing them with whiter ones. A sad story, but it hadn't happened yet. Talking about regentrification, but he's not using the words. The fact that this is, I want to say, the 50s, 60s, the 70s hadn't hit yet. And they're already redeveloping neighborhoods where they're replacing the, what was the wording he used? Within a few years, it would be a site of urban redevelopment, which meant clearing our old buildings and replacing them with expensive ones, clearing black faces and replacing them with whiter ones. Ooh, y'all. A lot of y'all in the comments are like, I love the way he writes. Me too, y'all. Me too. You got to be a deep person in order to catch what he's throwing at you, okay? And that's what Pisces do, okay? I can't deny that. You all maneuver on a totally different level on Earth. But history is definitely repeating itself. There were things that had been redone years ago, and they thought they was doing something. Now they're redoing what was already redone. So I can't be too broken that I don't recognize my DC. Because in about 20 to 30 more years, the people that are in DC now won't recognize their DC. It's just a cycle of life. It just breaks my heart that that time is erasing my past. One afternoon, I went into Huff's, curls in the front, waves in the back, and met a guy who worked there. Hamp Banks was his name, but he went by Bubba. Bubba was trained on hair, had gone to Moeller Barber School, and before that, a continuation school where he had known Bobby Freeman, though I don't think that connection came up in conversation. And there was plenty of conversation. Bubba and I started talking and kept talking, not just that day, but other days too. I kept going to the shop and Bubba started coming to the station. I liked Bubba. He was kind of funny. He could lie real good. He got shit done. And sometimes he brought shit around. The first time he showed me Cooke, I shook my head and told him I didn't go for that. I was smoking weed at the time, but nothing more. When another guy started to bring it around too, my curiosity went up and my resistance went down. Ooh, you motherfuckers. You niggas cannot stay away from the temptations. Oh, my life.